I really like this way of looking at it as a myth now. Not just like a myth,
Matter.
but like philosophical
Mm.
approach towards, because somehow then it doesn't stick to blindly following. Because if you just believe that this is a story and this is what happened, blah blah blah, you're just like memorizing stories and accepting them, but not
Yeah,
unpacking the ideas behind them is very important to see them from different. And there could be many other ways to see this as well. Like this is one approach, but yeah, it's important, I guess, to always try to see what you said about Khizr. I was talking to Kasim about it as well. Like the story itself is
Yeah,
more important.
that's another program.
Yeah, sure.
That's a case for another time. But yeah, so
Kasim, you have to add something.
yeah, any kind of final thoughts on language and Adam and Eve fruit?
I was just thinking about that. First of all, I think if we like, for example, it is a if you think of it as a myth, it's much easier to be in that position because if you put it as a fact, it's so hard to prove all the time, you know, like you're right. And that in itself is exhausting. And I think also if for any intelligent human being, you should be able to keep two ideas, conflicting ideas, and try to like measure them. And that's the way you get closer to what's actually true. And also, I think when you think about good and evil, from the perspective of that, um, from the perspective of that act or sin, if you want to even call it that, uh, there's no good and evil, because technically that for me, that act in itself was preordained and destined. Like Hamza said before, it was supposed to happen. God knows about it, and it's a game that has already been written before. So technically, what good and evil is is something how we project like our perspective on it and how we are viewing it because our perspective is very small. It's only probably like 70 years or so. But if you look at from a galactic or universal perspective, where God is viewing it, that act was not evil.
Mm.
And even beyond that, I think language. Um, I think language is not something that animals use. Language is something we use. And it's interesting. My aunt was saying the other day, it's just a theory of hers, but she was saying that we use language as a way because